Somewhere in your house right now, there's a plant that everyone thinks is boring. You water it, you forget about it, it forgives you anyway, and it just sits there being green. Pothos, the plant that refuses to die even when you try your hardest to kill it. But here's something almost nobody talks about. Once in a rare while, that same forgiving, unbothered plant does something it was never supposed to do indoors. It flowers. And when it does, gardeners online lose their minds because most of them have never seen it happen, not even once, not even after 10 years of owning the plant. So today we're not just talking about a flower. We're talking about a signal. A quiet message your plant sends when something shifts in its world. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that message means, whether it's something to celebrate or something your plant is trying to warn you about. Stick around because the answer is stranger than you'd expect. Hey there, welcome back to Gentle Greens, the channel built for garden owners who want thriving plants without draining their wallet. If this is your first time here, consider this your invitation into a little community that believes good gardening shouldn't cost a fortune. It should just take a bit of know-how. And if you're one of our regulars, welcome home. Grab whatever you're drinking and let's get into this one, because today's topic is one even experienced plant owners get wrong. Before we go further, if you're new here, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. We drop tips like this often, the kind that save you money and keep your plants alive longer than you'd expect. And if you've got a pothos at home right now, drop a comment and tell us how old it is. You might be surprised by what today's video reveals about it. The mystery begins. Now let's get into it. Pothos has been sitting in homes, offices, and dorm rooms for decades, and in all that time, most people have only ever known it as a leaf plant. Not a flower plant. Just vines and heart-shaped leaves crawling across shelves and hanging from baskets. And that's not by accident. Pothos in its natural home is a climber. In the wild, on the islands of French Polynesia where it originally comes from, it doesn't stay small and cute like the one on your windowsill. Climbs trees. It grows enormous leaves the size of dinner plates. And here's the part that changes everything. It only flowers once it reaches full maturity, high up on a tree trunk, soaking in a very specific kind of light and humidity that your living room simply cannot copy. So when your pothos sits in a pot, trimmed, contained, and kept at a comfortable size, it stays in what botanists call its juvenile stage forever. Forever a teenager. Never quite growing up enough to bloom. That's the real reason blooming is rare indoors. It's not that your plant is broken or unhappy. It's that it's simply never been given the chance to grow up. What the flower actually looks like. Here's where it gets interesting, because if you're picturing something colorful and delicate like a rose or a hibiscus, you're about to be surprised. Pothos flowers don't look like typical flowers at all. They form what's called a spadix, a spike-shaped structure wrapped in a leaf-like covering called a spatha. It looks more like something from the arum family, which makes sense because pothos is actually related to plants like peace lilies and philodendrons. So instead of soft, colorful petals, you get a pale, almost waxy hood-shaped bloom that some people describe as looking a bit alien. It's not showy. It's not fragrant in most cases. And that's exactly why it catches people off guard. They expect drama, and instead they get something strange, quiet, and oddly beautiful once you understand what you're looking at. Why it happens so rarely indoors. Let's talk about the real triggers, because this is the part most gardening content skips over. For pothos to bloom, several things usually need to line up at once. First, the plant needs time. Not weeks, not months, but often several years of steady, undisturbed growth. Second, it needs to be allowed to climb. Ideally up something like a moss pole or a support that lets it produce those larger, mature leaves instead of staying trimmed and compact. Third, it needs a boost of a natural plant hormone called gibberellin, which plays a huge role in triggering flowering in many species. In nature, plants often produce more of this hormone as they age, and as environmental stress builds slightly. Not harmful stress, just enough to nudge the plant toward reproduction instead of just leafy growth. That's actually why some of the rare pothos blooms recorded by growers happened after periods of environmental change. A move outdoors during a warm season. A shift in light exposure. A period of being left to grow wild without pruning. The plant, in a strange way, gets nudged toward maturity by circumstances that are close to its natural habitat. Quick pause here because I want to know something from you. If your pothos bloomed tomorrow, would you even recognize it? Or would you assume something was wrong with the plant? Drop your honest answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video is teaching you something new, do me a favor and tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more garden owners who need these tips, and it takes less than a second. While you're at it, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time because we're about to get into what this bloom actually means, and it's not what most people assume. What it means when it happens. Here's the twist. Most people assume a flower is always a good sign, a reward, a trophy for good care. And sometimes that's true. A pothos that blooms because it's mature, healthy, climbing well, and thriving is essentially telling you that you've created conditions close to what it would experience in the wild. That's a genuine compliment to your plant care. But there's another side to this story that rarely gets mentioned. In some cases, flowering can be a stress response. Not danger-level stress, but the kind of mild environmental pressure that pushes a plant to prioritize reproduction because conditions feel uncertain. Think of it like a plant's quiet instinct kicking in, a signal that says, just in case something changes soon, let's try to continue the species now. So when your pothos blooms, it's not always a simple yes or no answer. It's more like reading a mood. Look at the rest of the plant. Are the leaves full, vibrant, and the vine actively growing new growth points? That points toward the celebration story. Or has growth slowed? Are older leaves yellowing? Has watering or light been inconsistent lately? That points toward the stress story. Either way, the flower is data. It's your plant handing you information, and once you know how to read it, you stop guessing and start understanding what your plant actually needs. The budget-friendly takeaway. Now, because this channel is all about caring for your garden without spending unnecessary money, here's the practical side. You don't need fancy equipment or expensive fertilizers to encourage healthy pothos growth that might eventually lead toward maturity. A simple moss pole made from garden twine and a stick works fine. Consistent, moderate light near a window does more than any pricey grow light setup for a plant this forgiving. And patience, which costs absolutely nothing, is honestly the biggest ingredient here. Most gardeners chasing a bloom spend money trying to force something that mostly comes down to time and letting the plant climb undisturbed. So the next time you glance at your pothos sitting quietly on a shelf, remember it's not just decoration. It's a plant with a hidden chapter of its life that almost nobody gets to witness. And if it ever surprises you with that strange, waxy little bloom, you'll know exactly what it's telling you. If you enjoyed unpacking this mystery with me, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment letting me know what plant mystery you want solved next, and give this video a like if it added something new to what you know. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.